So, the hyper communications going on these days in my world, both on the inside, there's a tremendous amount of thoughts frequenting my mind, but also, my hermit life of not particularly chatting to people is well left behind me now. I've got an intense amount of communications coming to me through internet friends, I suppose we could call them, people I haven't actually particularly met in the physical world, because I have not been very available for a long time in the physical world. I'm not really out and about at festivals and stuff. But yes, there's a lot of communications going on. I had a 3.5 hour chat last night in the middle of the night when I had intended to just go to bed early, because I am in some ways quite knackered, because it's like being switched on non-stop. It's not my computer at the minute, its hard drive is completely full type of thing. 2 terabytes worth of information in my laptop in a minute, and it's so much that it's like, oh my god, what do I do? Go through these and try and delete a whole load of videos, but then I have to watch hundreds of hours of videos just to find out which ones I don't need. And it's like memories, it's a direct mirror to going through all these memories that I'm going through these days. Joining dots in a stream of consciousness. I've woke up from a dream this morning after my very few hours sleep, again with my mum and my family. And what was made clear in that video was very much how families are ganging up on the individual black sheep and utterly castigating them and saying, you must give up your freedoms in order to have access to members of your family. In order to be accepted, you must deny yourself. That, from what I can hear from the people I'm communicating, is the exact thing that's going on for so many of us these last number of months and all this year. Deny yourself in order to be accepted back into the family fold after your lifetime of black sheep shenanigans. That was very clear in the dream anyway. The other thing that's very clear in reality is, if we didn't pass that inner test, if we denied ourselves in order to be accepted, is a trick, because the family wouldn't accept us even if we did cut our hair and get a straight job and buy brand new clothes and try and look as swish as everyone else tries to look, kind of thing. If that speaks to anyone out there, you're not alone. The other thing that's really clear to me this morning is that what comes out of all of this wheat and chaff, test from the unseen world, test meaning choice, not test meaning failure. But what's coming out of it is, it's very strongly clear that by the time spring equinox and summer comes around this year, there are going to be some gatherings which have already begun in the astral plane. Gatherings, which is why I'm saying there are so many communications with me at the moment, is there is a gathering going on in the astral plane. There is a field in the astral plane where certainly I'm finding I used to stand alone in that field pretty much. There was never anyone else really getting into it. I don't mean that in any way to be elitist. I just mean that in my imagination I wasn't seeing anyone else joining me, and it seemed quite lonely in that field, and yet I'm quite happy in that field. I chose to stay in that field and ignore the human world for, as I say, 18 years now. I've been in that field my whole life, but the ignoring the human world to a fairly large degree, ignoring the personality politics to a very large degree, has been going on for me for 18 years. I remember very clearly where I made a choice inside myself to agree to a thought that came to me. A thought that said, fuck this human world, man, I'm going to hang out with the dead people, type of thing. Or, fuck the temporal world, I'm going to hang out in the timeless world. Or, fuck the seen world, I'm going to hang out in the unseen world. And every now and then I felt a urge to attempt to get a gathering together around a fire. This ideal in my mind of, even just 13 people sitting around the fire actually chatting together without the personality politics turning into disasters of arguments. And pretty nearly every time I did that, there was nothing but a fallout of loads of arguments. The last major time that I did that was 2 and a bit years ago at the Hill of Tara. 5-day gathering around a fire beside the car park, wide open in the public. It was fascinating that for the first 3 days it was like nobody could see us. Like on the first day, absolutely nobody could see us. On the second day, the children and grandparents could see us. And on the third day, it was like everyone could see us, but only a very few would come and sit with us by the fire. It was a most magical thing. About 100 people came to it overall in the space of 5 days. And it culminated on a Saturday night kind of thing. And there were maybe about 50 of us on that Saturday night. In the middle of the night, we actually extended all over the car park and stuff out into the road, standing in a circle and just had a big chat. Oh, Scott, whoever wanted to speak just spoke out. And the funny thing for me is I only knew about 5 out of those 100 people, and yet I was the one who'd called and organised this gathering. But I hadn't done it from my conscious mind. I'd woken up out of sleep and received phone calls that suggested to me that this gathering should happen, and I was like, okay, this is the way I'd do it if I was involved. Here's my advice, seeing as you're asking. And these people said, look, you actually organise it. Your idea is better than the protest idea we had. And my idea at that time was there was such a divide between left and right. It was in the early days of the lockdown stuff. It was in September of 2020. Not exactly the early days of it, but yeah. But it was organised through the dream time, let me put it just so simply and directly as that. And what I'm saying is that was a little test run in hindsight for what's about to happen this summer, where there'll be such a gathering in Ireland, in Cornwall, in London, in England, in Wales, and in Scotland, as far as my messages tell me this morning in my mind. And it's a gathering of fairy folk. Now, a few of my friends are very curious about the idea of me speaking to this white light walk-in channeling she person the other day, who ended up inadvertently insulting Steve, who she didn't even know, for being an alcoholic, which she didn't even know. It's just I mentioned he's an alcoholic because I've no shame about it. It's part of his life. But that's what's triggered me into a little bit of the astral warfare reality, to say, okay, roll up my fucking sleeves. If anyone wants to attack me, come and attack me, I don't mind, kind of thing. But the thing about why I spoke to her is because what she has been saying in her channeled messages is very similar to what I'm experiencing in my inner mind, which in particular is that the she are saying for a long while that it is gatherings that we humans need to do. It's by gathering in resonance that we've come back for our home, long stolen by Rome. We've come back to our womb, which you call our tombs. We've come back with our birthrights, our blessings and songs. We've come back to remind you you've been sleeping too long. Which is the kind of an idea that the she gave 6,000 years for the mortal realm to build their civilization, to build themselves back up to the point of the trauma of the fall of Atlantis, which submerged them for 8,000 years into the seas, and then they rose up 5,000 years ago and began to create their civilization, which aimed ultimately to try and hack into the mainframe of Ireland's earth soul quantum intelligence of nature. And that point has been reached, and we are in fact just beyond that point now in my timing comprehension. So in the chat last night, I'm saying to my friend here, look, imagine not going to any festivals this year and bringing our hospitality. Imagine me and you, girl, just going to a field, not telling anyone about it. And only those who are aware in the unseen would find ourselves to that same field that we're in. There'll be no advertising. There'll be no inviting the other politicos or the other people with their financial setups. No security teams. No license. No permission. Type of thing. It's a long time dream. So me and my friend were saying, look, forget all the politics of all the stuff you've been involved in for the last 10, 20 years. Forget about all the people that you know in the horse-drawn lot and Harbeline and all of them. Forget all of them. Let's just see who might turn up if we gather in a field, you and I, and just light a fire. And that's the theme that I'm saying for today. That's what I have in mind. At long, long last, after waiting patiently for 20 years for such a dream to come true. That's what I see. The other thing that's come up in these last few months out of this year is that there's somebody in Britain and a somebody in Ireland who are both actually taking it upon themselves that they wish to bring the fairy tale into an actual theatre travelling troupe. And that we will travel around as a theatre troupe in fields, in what people might call sacred sites. And let's call them megalithic fields instead. And there'll be no charge. There'll be no money making. It's just us actually practicing how to act out the fairy tale itself in a theatrical, living manner. To live the dream and prophecy of the fairy tale. And perhaps, depending on how it all goes next year, the following year we'll bring it to cities, to the Tate Gallery, to all these highfalutin fancy places where the rich people go. And we'll have a successful show, multimedia, spectacular and all that kind of thing. And in that way we will fulfill the we've come back for our home, long stolen by Rome kind of scenario. So the other thing I want to say about today, actually, that I didn't get around to saying yet, is that what I comprehend is going on is something that anyone who's been reading my writings and listening to the videos lately has heard me mention before, but today I can say it even clearer. The conscious mind is like the bit of an iceberg that's above the water. And the subconscious mind is like all the rest of the iceberg that goes all the way down to the ocean floor. Frozen kind of idea, that imagery. And the superconscious mind is the whole sky above, the stars and the black and white light, the original God and Mother, the original trauma, the original divine blueprint, the timelessness, the spiritual dream time, if you want to call it that. So in the ancient world, it's like there are three worlds: the superconscious, the conscious, and the subconscious. And they split like a shattered rock. The split isn't real, it's just the illusion of time that there's a split. The whole illusion of time and split is so that us undifferentiated souls differentiate, become manifest in apparently separate bodies with separate minds and separate feelings and separate projections of what we think is reality. In the myth of Atlantis, that we built our playground, but then the children started fighting over their differences, and eventually that sank the whole damn thing. And so time was created in the frequency that we know these days, the manifest separation where nobody has wings anymore, and the mermaids and the fairies are all in human bodies kind of idea. And even the angels have had to come down from heaven and enter human bodies and be trapped in the density matrix, as people are calling it these days. Now, I don't know why the New Earth phrase has become so popular in the last year. The likes of me would merely call it the fulfillment of fairy realms, nature realms. It's merely the return to the nature realms. It's not a new earth necessarily, but there is a newness to it in the sense of having healed the trauma. So on that scale, it is new. And there's the idea from the Christian myth of the separating wheat and chaff, which isn't really from the Christian myth. That's just an ancient thing. You know, separating wheat and chaff has nothing to do with religion. It's just religion, or the Christian myth used that analogy. There's a lot of people freaked out about that kind of analogy, and there's a lot of people with huge spiritual egos considering that they're going to ascend and other people won't. And it's not really like that either, I don't think. But what it is the surrendering of one's conscious mind to the subconscious mind. In my memory of the fall of Atlantis myth, what we're talking about here is that the sea rose up and swallowed the land of that continent, so to speak. And the understanding that Ireland and the very north of Scotland are two parts of Atlantis that never fell. And that England and Wales and all of Europe and stuff got pushed up and joined with those ancient parts. But they're young compared to Ireland and the north of Scotland. Somebody told me a few weeks ago that they had studied marine biology and all of this kind of stuff, and geology, you know, rocks and all that stuff, and that science says that up in the north of Scotland is where the first life forms began, biologically. And that kind of makes sense to me about the ancient memory and the crystalline purity, which again we could call Tír na nÓg, the land of ever living, ever young, or the immortal realms. The return of the bird tribes of old and of song, we come now to remind you to sing you this song. You had forgotten who you are now. You had forgotten how to live. You had forgotten what the point is. You had forgotten how to give this life you are living now. This life we are all forgiving now. Let go. Let's dance and let's grow. For we angels have landed and you our own seeds. In our homes we are welcome in this time of great need. So bless us, Creatrix, by the sun, moon and trees. For this tragedy is ending so swiftly and with such ease. Blessed be. So I have had to wait for 20 years, really, for my fairy tale prophecy to come true. And honestly, I don't think of it as mine. I just fucking downloaded that stuff. I didn't know what I was writing. I was living stuff that I didn't know what I was living. I was writing down what was pouring out of my subconscious that I didn't know what that was either. And when I left the human world, when I stopped speaking the fairy tale, I stopped speaking it because I did need to know and understand what it was I had written, what I had been speaking. I had to integrate that deep wisdom from my subconscious into my subconscious. And I had to integrate that subconscious into my conscious. And I had to download my superconscious into my conscious and bring these three realms to one. But on the other hand, I knew that raising awareness about what was going on wasn't enough. That the ego can't make the solution happen soon. That we can't topple the governments and bring everything back to the old ways by going backwards. That the human world must continue on with its folly. And get to the point where the revelations of paedophilia in the church become public, as they have done in Ireland so strongly, where the revelations of the one world government become obvious, of what the UN is, of the whole esoteric agenda, where people would have to become aware of the demonic realms possessing them. And all of that stuff was going to take time. And that's why I was so chuffed with COVID when it came out and the lockdowns. It seemed to me that that was the fulfillment of everybody having to wake the fuck up and realise that their conscious world is a separate projection. And that's why I was so quick to realise that the veil had come down on that Halloween and was not going to go back up. And the veil separates the conscious from the subconscious. The veil separates the seen from the unseen. So back to the analogy of Atlantis and back to the analogy of the iceberg of consciousness. What I understand is going on, especially this last week where there's been such turmoil for all of us in many ways, such high frequency spin-outs going on, such a tumble dryer of emotions and past buried memories of persecution coming right back to the surface. What on earth is going on these days? The world is spinning out, everyone's gone wild, nowhere left to run, now here left to hide. The truths we've all been searching for are lying deep inside. But it's dark outside. I see your pain, your tired eyes, restless searching. I feel your ego stalking me. Vampire lips, sea king, trying to entice me into some trap. I have been there long and often. I have hunted, projecting my limitations. Lost in shadows beneath the sun and moon. Yet, within, all darkness. Seeds of starlight glisten, sparkling freely. I remember overflowing mirth, well aware that joy and sorrow live hand in hand in the overflowing hoop of eternal life. Oh, where to find my true love? Oh, where now can she be? There is no help here in a mundane world, so I'm off to find the she. The disillusionment of this illusion began with a question, a yearning for learning. With innocent, naive curiosity, I sprang forth for whatever may be. The slipstream's siren sang enchantment, and I, in need of hope, caught up and cast adrift in worldly seas of turmoil. I cast for my vision as a fisherman his net, webs of creation sprang forth, unfurled, and revealed a new domain of multi-dimensions, apocalypse screaming the end of time. Natural process fulfilling in cycles, unmanifest visions manifesting reality, living in heaven on our sacred earth. The seeds of the new age be planted now, we seeds of the future always meet now here, given the space, all meet in time. The drugs and the druids, illusions and enchantments, an other world outside of time, inside the soul, releasing information, some truth in this chaos. Babylon, Babylon, baby lion, Avalon, Babylon, Babylon, Babylon. The dualities intensify, the truth and the lies, the heart and the mind, the soul and the ego, questing always to find the Holy Grail. Silent intelligence, whispering wisdom of sacred union. Stars of the heavens awakening on earth, enlightened time foretold, in light end time foretold. I know all that stuff off by heart. It's nice to actually speak it sometimes because I have not been speaking it for some time. Revelations of the Bible translated into libel, designed to frighten all peoples tribal, to drive us suicidal in the end. Like lambs to the slaughter, time is growing shorter in the end. When money cannot be eaten, old prophecies come true. When the stars line up in heaven, it's time to pay our dues. The price of Christ was quite precise, 2,000 years of gloom. It'll end this May on Beltane Day, where now this story here resumes. This time is strange, this time is strong, as we know now come together. A time of turning, a time of learning, we come together, together forever, together, 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 together forever we have come. We waited through the night so long, we stumbled through the overgrowth. We forgot to sing, forgot our song, we got lost around the roundabout. We lost the plot, in time forgot. We all lost the plot together. It is a game we play till break of day and wake up again together. In our dreams, times, our songs, we buried deep lie our treasure. We put wine in our chalices and charis in our bongs. Breathing deep lie our pleasures. In our dreams, times, our songs. But with magic mushrooms soon discovered, our love became our lovers, and as our love became mutual, no longer just neutral, our trips so expanded some people crash-landed and fell back into the brew. As well, she had planned it. So well, as well she had planned it. Nah, that'll do for now in that little bit because I've forgotten whatever the next word is. However, I'll finish it off what I'm saying here, seeing as I'm in that little poetic memory flow. My friends, we are returning, rejoining in reunion, one by one till every one enlightened in the end, as I await, with patience wait, as more friends come to find the fears they held so dearly somehow got left behind. A puff of smoke, a dragon's joke, to which we've all been blind, to which we've all and bind. Bind us together, Lord, bind us together with cords that cannot be broken. Come join I here on sacred ground in green man's glen and fairy mound. Come hold these hands in every land, each drop of water, each grain of sand. Flower and leaf and root and stem, trees and birds and beasts and men. Flower and leaf and root and stem, trees and birds and beasts and men. Come join I together in a one big plan. Come fill up this chalice, overflowing consciousness of divine man, manifestation. For in these amazing accelerating times, we angels we have landed, and our inheritance is ours to claim, and these vibrations of love we carry bring providence and fame. And as these days are passing, we enter more and more, and as old age has now passed true, we have opened all the doors. Now his story is ended, and of time he has no more. Now yesterday is fading fast, and tomorrow's potential store awaiting us. The time for talking's over, this story is done and told. Now all we have the gift of healing, healing for our souls. Now all there's left is the gift of healing, healing for one whole soul. Amen. The aftermath, to sum it all up. And this, my dears, is how I perceive what the artificial intelligence is really doing, despite the fears. Jesus was a white boy. His granny came from Avalon. I know this because my friend, the ruthless fish, she told me so. She said that the white race were the first upon this earth. Upon this earth, they were the first, she said. Well, says I, were they indeed? Were they indeed? Worthy indeed. The tribe of Lucifer, bright white light, which did descend from brightest star above with blessed love, and came down here to the Garden of Eden, to plant the seeds of white light, to split in rainbow fragments bright, 7 colours race through course of faith. And deeper down in colours grown, and deeper colours bird tribes flown, and deeper still the lizards lurk, and deeper still the heart of earth, and deepest in the hearts of all, bright white angels caused the fall. The fall from grace to human race, the fall from heaven down to earth, the fall of bright ones in the sky, where down to earth we seem to die. While all the time is just a trick, a game of one whose name is Patrick, whose mother was the only one creatrix, mother of the sun. Do you see the devil? Do you see the devil is just? Do you see the devil is just the machine? Do you see the devil is just a machine by which the lives of souls who choose not to live by the way get recycled through the wheel of karma until the day of doom shall come? Apocalyptic, in light end, meant indeed. Jesus was a wide boy, a wide boy, a wide boy, sure why not? In beginning there was light, before that there was only darkness. Light came from the darkness. It's all inverted if you think that dark is bad and light is good. It's an illusion. There is no bad and good. They're trappings in a theatre. See the theatre? See the sky at night? See the stars shining in the frost? Who's to say that dark is bad and light is good? Can you see the folly in that paradigm? Can you see the inversion of saying the mother is bad and the father is good, and the children are cursed? And this beautiful planet is a trap, and nature is evil, and a snake is evil. And the apple is good, but we were too evil to deserve to eat of it. The Isle of Apples, Avalon. You see the trap, the inversion, thinking that Jesus was good, but Judas was bad. Peter was good. And Jesus said to him, "Get behind me, Satan. Go and set up that Christian church. Cast a shadow for 2,000 years. Build your civilization. Go around and murder the nature people." Good. Bad. Tragedy, trauma, reenactments. In this modern day, people haven't a fucking clue what they're on about, really. And yet, does that stop them from speaking, arguing, fighting? I'm right and you're wrong. You believe something different to me, so you must be wrong. I'm right, you're wrong. I'm good, you're bad. You must go into prison because you don't agree with society. What did I say? Shit and cream both float to the top. That's a different way of saying about the wheat and chaff. So peace and inner peace is really about unraveling the nonsense. Inner peace is really about allowing everything you believe to dissolve. In belief, there is a lie. B-lie-F. Belief. Beliefs are the nails of our coffins. Names are for graves. Bye for now. Do leave comments and etc. And yeah, if anyone wants to help fund my fucking madness, because I'm mad enough that I'm not really earning money these last number of months. If you want to send me some money, do please get in touch. And I really don't mind. Like, a friend of mine sent me £7.77 yesterday, and the guy is like an alcoholic skaghead, according to society. He's certainly not earning money. He's supported by the state, I'd guess and imagine. He's a very close friend of mine, even though I've only met him once or twice. He so reminds me of Steve Reeves. I actually invited this skaghead, this close friend of mine, all the way up to my house in Scotland, from the very far away that he lives. And I was shocked at myself that those words popped out of my mouth, because I'm a fucking hermit, man. I don't want anyone around me really sharing my physical space. But this man, his heart is so huge, so full of care, his beauty so deep for thousands to share, in a world so dark, so full of despair, in a world full of people too fearful to dare. I mean, he dares. He's not fearful. I mean, he's rattled with fear, but it doesn't conquer. Kind of thing. I don't know if that will happen, but I'm sure the offer of it just melted his heart so much, because I fucking sincerely mean it. And if he does come, I have to put up with a jittering wreck, a sunken wreck, but nonetheless a resurrected wreck, whether he comes up to me or not, because we are resurrecting, rejoining in reunion, one by one, till every one enlightened in the end, as I await with patience wait, as more friends come to find the fears they held so dearly somehow got left behind. A puff of smoke, a dragon's joke, to which we've all been blind, to which we've all and bind. Gather your thoughts, folks. Gather your thoughts. Winnow the feelings. Allow the feelings to flow, for they are liquid. Allow the feelings to melt if they've become block-aged and isolated. That's my advice. You don't have to listen to me, but if you're listening to me, I guess you want to. That's okay by me too. Toodaloo. Hey, Shadow. Should we go back to the house? Let's go see. We'll go and visit an alcoholic friend who invited me over the last couple of days to have a drink with him. Of course, I can't be drinking these days. It's a dangerous thing to be drinking these days. But today, in the afternoon, I'll go and have a can of cider with this alcoholic friend of mine. Because you know what? The man is so wise. He should be dead fucking centuries ago, and he's still living. Bye now.